motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. An observation I made based on a recent graphic that MVP posted to their social media wishing everyone a happy Easter. And in the photo, you notice former undisputed champion Chantel Cameron, who was not announced as a recent signee to the promotional banner, yet she's there. Why would she be? I also noticed that before that, when they were doing the photo shoot involving their stable of Valkyries, the ones that were already there, and the recent signees, Chantel was once again present. She was in attendance. So, is it possible that Chantel Cameron is the latest addition to the stable and it just hasn't been announced yet? So far, she's fought under the Matchroom banner.
No, go back.
She's fought under the Cyclone Promotions banner, back when Cyclone was still a thing. Fought under the MTK banner, when MTK was still a thing. Fought on Matchroom, then moved over to Queensbury.
Sporting a professional record of 20 wins with 1 loss, no draws, 8 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 21 professional bouts. One of the better women boxers in the entire sport of women's boxing, but it still doesn't feel like she is acknowledged, like she's being promoted right. Can MVP succeed for Chantel where Queensbury failed?
Hey, you don't think Matchroom failed?
No, I don't, because every single alphabet title and every single meaningful fight Chantel has ever had was on the Matchroom banner. The only reason anybody really knows her now is because of what Matchroom put together, so I don't think they failed.
How could you call that a failure when all the recognition she gets now is based on what happened at Matchroom? Now, is there more work needs doing? Yes.
But it doesn't seem that Queensbury's doing it. They did a decent enough job of keeping Chantel active after the loss to Katie Taylor in their rematch in November of 2023. She fought 2 times in 2024, once in July, then again in November.
For what was a WBC interim title, she is the WBC's mandatory challenger to the winner of Taylor versus Serrano 3. But when she went over there, I didn't imagine that the deal was a lengthy deal that lasts either a lot of fights or a lot of years. Could have been as simple as a 2-fight deal, and maybe now she's a free agent, which is why she keeps popping up on the MVP side of things.
This wouldn't be a bad signing for them.
But the question then becomes, what can MVP do for Chantel that Matchroom couldn't do, or that Queensbury couldn't do? What can they do for her?
Katie Taylor trilogy.
So let's say that Katie Taylor wins the 3rd fight with Amanda Serrano and stays undisputed champion. They can perhaps get Chantel that trilogy that she's looking for, perhaps for even more money than it would have been if she were on Matchroom or if she were on Queensbury, because MVP, as we all know, is in bed with Netflix.
That's what they can do for her. If Katie beats Amanda again, they can get Chantel that opportunity, that 3rd fight. That's if Katie wins. Let's say Katie loses. Amanda takes all those belts from her and becomes undisputed champion in the super lightweight division. Amanda's career is winding down, the same as Katie's, and she's been hinting at that all year. Career is almost over. I'm not sure that we get Serrano versus Cameron, but what they can do for Chantel in that situation...
They could still do a Katie Taylor fight if Katie loses, but they can also allow Chantel to pick up those alphabet titles, because let's say Amanda wins, then retires, and the belts go vacant, Chantel would be in the right place to pick them up.
Against Katie or somebody else, whoever's there, whoever's in the rank standings, she would still be in the right place to get optimal promotion, optimal opportunities, and more exposure than she's been getting. Because as we all know, MVP doesn't cater to your conventional boxing audience. It's not limited to hardcore boxing fans.
Chantel Cameron has already been everywhere else, practically, so MVP wouldn't be a bad move, and I think that's where she's off to now. If I had to guess, her deal with Queensbury has come to an end, she is perhaps a free agent, and she's on the eve of signing to MVP.
Just a guess, just a hunch, and we'll see if that hunch checks out, because there's gotta be a reason she was in attendance for that photo shoot, and there's gotta be a reason they're including her in their graphics. It's not the kind of stuff that happens by accident.
Men's lightweight news, more on yet another fighter who's decided to move off of Matchroom. Shakur Stevenson is nearing a promotional agreement with Lou Dembella. The managers of Shakur Stevenson are finalizing a deal for the unbeaten WBC lightweight and three-weight champion to be represented by veteran New York promoter Lou Dembella for Stevenson's planned title defense versus Mexico's William Zepeda on July 12th in New York. Boxing reporter Dan Rafael first reported Dembella's involvement, a shift for Stevenson away from his two-fight agreement with Matchroom's Eddie Hearn that included a title defense on February 22nd against late replacement Josh Pedley in Saudi.
I wondered about that fight. If it counted as part of Shakur's two-fight deal with Matchroom, I guess it did, based on this.
Didn't know for sure because that wasn't actually a Matchroom show. According to an official connected to the agreement, who was unauthorized to speak publicly on the matter, Stevenson's co-managers James Prince and Josh Dubin were empowered to negotiate with Dibella because Hearn and Matchroom didn't exercise their option for the second fight on the agreement with Stevenson. Do you understand that? That means that this isn't the way that some people are telling it, to where Shakur Stevenson left Matchroom. Matchroom had the option, they just chose not to use it.
Options on him.
Whatever we're reading in this article is all based on Dan Rafael's previous report and some anonymous source that is not authorized to speak on the matter publicly. You know who is? Eddie Hearn.
Eduardo said, we have a two-fight agreement with Shakur Stevenson and Turkey LL Sheik.
So at least based on what Eddie Hearn said, Matchroom still is in the picture, just perhaps not for this fight, not for the Zepeda fight. Why would they play it that way? Dibella's team will work to represent Stevenson as the New York State Athletic Commission selects officials and assigns medical tests for the fighters. Dembella, according to an official close to the promoter, is said to be very happy for Stevenson, a fighter he views as talented, to be in a big show again. Dembella has gratitude. Hearn did not immediately return messages left for him on Monday by Boxing Scene. Hearn's parting, said the official, the anonymous one, freed Prince to negotiate directly with Saudi Arabia.
With Turkey LL Sheik after Stevenson previously accused LL Sheik on social media of shorting the purse he originally promised when Stevenson and Zepeda sought to fight last year. Stevenson has since apologized for the misunderstanding, and the Zepeda fight is a go.
Zepeda's promoter, Oscar De La Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, is expected to serve as the lead promoter for the card that LL Sheik's company recently announced, one that includes a super middleweight bout between Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz, the WBC 140-pound champion Alberto Puello versus former champion Subriel Matias, and David Morrell in a light heavyweight bout against Imam Katayev.
Lead promoter? I didn't know that.
If nothing else, we know that this is not a Matchroom show, as Matchroom is not representing Shakur for this fight. Lou Dibella's doing that.
The article states that Golden Boy is expected to be the lead promoter. We have to see if that intel checks out.
Because good number of these fighters are not Golden Boy Promotions fighters. Edgar Berlanga is a free agent. Hamza Shiraz is with Queensbury. Shakur's supposed to be with Lou Dibella now.
Alberto Puello and David Morrell, those are PBC fighters.
Now, Subriel Matias and Imam Katayev, they have their own situations, but they're not Golden Boy Promotions fighters, and yet the article states that Golden Boy is expected to be the lead promoter. We'll see, because this is a mixed bag. Golden Boy promoting the card, and Berlanga also moving on from Hearn following the expiration of his multi-fight agreement with the promoter, isn't seen as a Saudi turn away from Hearn or Matchroom, who are overseeing the Times Square promotion on May 2nd and will be involved in the coming Dimitri Bivol versus Artur Beterbiev light heavyweight trilogy and expected return of Anthony Joshua. Turkey didn't need Eddie to make a Shakur fight, said veteran fight official, observing the Saudis' movements. That said, I strongly don't think Eddie's out, although I don't think anybody's solidly in. With LL Sheik, except Frank Warren of Queensbury Promotions. If it doesn't help LL Sheik's agenda, he doesn't care who he does or doesn't do business with. Eddie can be a difficult guy, and I don't think his ego's going to handle well the idea that Turkey is running boxing. But that said, if LL Sheik wants to make a deal with Eddie for a Joshua fight to fight Tyson Fury, I'm sure he can and will. One individual said the July 12th show may also deviate from the rotation of using MSG or the Barclays and get staged at another New York venue, as with the May 2nd promotion.
So this anonymous official that is not authorized to speak publicly on any of this, according to him, Eddie can be a difficult guy.
For me, that really narrows the field of options as to who was it that Boxing Scene spoke to. Who is this anonymous official? I think it's Lou Dibella.
Why?
It's gotta be someone who's privy to the inner workings of this upcoming card in July, though at the same time has a bit of an axe to grind with Eddie Hearn. Because why would he describe him as being difficult?
Why would he make comments about Eddie Hearns' ego? All of it sounds eerily familiar. Sounds like stuff you hear Lou Dibella say.
The individual additionally said that they expect LL Sheik to create a fuller round-robin of bouts beyond the coming Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney rematch that is expected to follow the card on May 2nd. The winner of the WBO 140-pound title bout between the champion Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza will be positioned to meet the winner of Puello versus Matias, for instance, or Stevenson may be coaxed to move up in weight to meet either the winner if he achieves his expected triumph. You can see LL Sheik is cornering those weight classes, and we know he's not shy about overspending, the individual said.
So here's what I think is going on. Here's how you can reconcile it. What Dan Raphael reported, what Boxing Scene is saying, and what Eddie Hearn just said.
Matchroom is not needed for that July show, and thus they're not really involved. Enter Lou Dibella, who will be representing Shakur for at least the Zepeda fight, but that does not void their arrangement with Matchroom.
Then why is Matchroom not representing Shakur for this fight?
They likely want to wait out the outcome, see it through, and if Shakur wins, then they can do more business with Shakur. But if Shakur loses, they don't have to. They have the option of not doing more business with Shakur.
It's what the Boxing Scene article says, that they had the option but chose not to exercise it.
What all seems like much ado about nothing from the narrative spinners, the narrative grifters that for whatever reason are framing this as a negative for Matchroom, as a bad thing.
How is it a bad thing? They didn't invest millions of dollars in Shakur Stevenson and are now not getting it back. It's not a loss for them.
Their partnership was always situational. That arrangement was always temporary and situational. An arrangement that, at least according to Eddie Hearn, hasn't even ended yet. That he not only has a 2-fight deal with Shakur, but he has a 2-fight deal with Turkey. So I don't know what the problem or the point is.
Caught people's attention that Lou Dibella will be involved with Shakur for at least this fight, and I get it, but it's not really a big deal.
Which is nasty at the highest level. This man got Shakur Stevenson as the co-main to Edgar Berlanga.
Musty energy.
What sense does that make?
Musty energy.
What sense does that make, bro? And what planet is Edgar Berlanga the main event over rockstar Shakur Stevenson? Over El Shakur? Over the best Puerto Rican boxer out right now? Shakur Stevenson is the best Puerto Rican boxer out right now, hands down. And y'all gonna say he not Puerto Rican? His dad is Puerto Rican. Chilaquiles, chilaquiles,
Musty energy.
chilaquiles, chilaquiles.
Musty energy.
Yeah, 956 boxing, it's absolutely nasty. Shakur Stevenson? This the second time they done pulled this stuff on.
Perhaps Two-Tone makes a valid point that Shakur is a more accomplished fighter than Edgar Berlanga by every metric. He's a 3-division champion, where Edgar has never been a champion anywhere. He's never been a champion at all. So why is he in the main event, and why is Shakur on the undercard? It's a valid question, but I don't see Shakur complaining.
It is a valid question, but I don't see Shakur asking it. I don't see Shakur complaining, likely because, undercard or otherwise, he stands to make in between 4 and 6 for the Zepeda fight. 4 and 6. Now that's more money than he would make fighting William in the open market.
That if Turki El Al-Sheikh were not involved and he weren't the one bankrolling this, Shakur may not have been making 4 and 6 for this fight. He may have been making his customary 3 if it were just up to Top Rank to pay him, or just up to Matchroom.
I think Stevenson versus Zepeda is a great fight, but not a big one. It's not the kind of fight that the casual audience is looking for. So when you stand to make in between $4 million to $6 million for William Zepeda in what is not a big fight,
Now, how could you complain? This is about egos, as is customary with the American boxing scene. It's all about egos, and it's all about appearances, and I get it that Shakur is a more accomplished fighter than Edgar, but in the tri-state area, where this fight is supposed to go down, is he a bigger draw?
you do a fight in New York City with a Puerto Rican in the main event, it's gonna move the needle because there's a large Puerto Rican contingent in the tri-state area. As it stands, there are about 3 Puerto Rican fighters on this card: Edgar Berlanga, Shakur Stevenson, and Subriel Matias.
I don't think that's by accident. It's kind of clear who they are trying to appeal to, what audience they expect to be there. But I feel like American content creators and American podcasters always choose to see the negative. I think it's slipping past people's radar that same weekend, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano are going to be fighting on Friday. This show would be going down that following Saturday. That's a full weekend of boxing. Who cares who's in the main event?
Shakur doesn't. I don't see Shakur complaining, the one most affected by this.
The only thing I saw Shakur complaining about was the money. But he has since walked back those complaints, and he's on board now. He's a happy camper. So you should be too. To where, who cares if he's not in the main event? Who cares if he's on the prelim card or the main one, the co-main? Either way, you know when he's fighting, and you know who he's fighting. So who really gives a damn?
No, I wouldn't have structured the card that way myself. I would not have had Edgar Berlanga in the main event. I wouldn't have.
So I do understand what Two Tone is addressing. Maybe they put Edgar in the main because they don't want people to leave after the fight. That if he were in the co-main, they'd see his fight, then they'd go home.
Maybe that's it. But overall, it's not a big deal. It's much ado about nothing because they're all boxing on what is a great show full of great fights. So, just enjoy it.